Lesson 2.6, Ratios and Proportions. A few definitions. A ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. So again, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. And there are three ways to express a ratio in written form. The first way is if you're comparing, for example, A, you use a colon, to B. That's one way to express a ratio. A second way is to use the word to if we're comparing A to B, like that. And the third way is the way that we will use it most often, and it's in using that comparison as a division bar, comparing A to B. Okay? The next definition is a proportion. Proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equal to each other. And a proportion is written this way. A is to B as C is to D. So it's an equation. Notice it contains an equal sign. And you're comparing, you're stating that two ratios are equal to each other. That's a proportion. So there are two ways to determine whether two ratios are equal. The first is to write both in simplest form. In other words, to just simply reduce both of the ratios. If they both reduce to the same exact number, then you know that they are equal to each other. I'll give you an example. Okay, the question here reads, is 8 to 16 as 3 is to 6? And what we can do is we can go ahead and reduce both of these. 8/16 to simplest form would be 1 to 2. And 3 to 6 in simplest form would be 1 to 2. So can we say that these are equal? Yes, they are. Because when you simplify them, they reduce to the same exact fraction. It's not always possible to reduce these fractions, so we also use the cross products method. Letter A, example A, using cross products. By cross products, what I mean is that you will take the numerator of the first, multiply it times the denominator of the second, and then the denominator of the first and multiply it times the numerator of the second. And you will see if those cross products equal each other. Okay, so let's try that. If I do 15 times 42, the product is 630. And if I multiply 36 times 35, 36 times 35, the product is 1,260, I believe. So, because these cross products are not equal, okay, we can say that this is not a proportion. Okay, try number 2 on your own. Let me pause the video now. Using the cross products method, determine if these are equal. Okay, so when I multiply 0.2 times 0.9, I get 0.18 or 1800ths. And when I multiply 1.8 times 1, I get 1.8 or 1 8/10. Obviously, those two values are not equal, therefore, this is not a proportion either. Okay, to solve a proportion, we will use the cross product method. That means we will write an equation when we multiply the numerator of one times the denominator of the other, the denominator of one times the numerator of the other. We'll write an equation and then we will solve. So let's go ahead and multiply. R times 40 is 40R equals 8 times 25, which is 200. So now we want to solve this equation. We're looking for R. So since 40 is multiplying R, to undo that, we're going to divide by 40 on both sides. And so R equals 5. So you can say that 5 is to 8 as 25 is to 40. Okay, let's try number 4. Again, we're going to write an equation using cross products. We're going to multiply the numerator of 1 times the denominator of the other, and the denominator of 1 times the numerator of the other. So let's write our equation. 8 times x plus 4 is equal to 5 times 3, which is 15. And I wrote it that way because I want you to realize that we need to distribute here. So let's do that. 8x, plus 32 is equal to 15. Let's go ahead and subtract 32 from both sides. $8x is equal to negative 17. In order to solve for x, I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides and just finish this off on the side. X is equal to negative 17 over 8 as an improper fraction. Or I can change this to a mixed number, and that would be negative 2 and 1/8. So either one of these solutions is correct. Okay, a unit rate. Write this down, please. A unit rate is defined as the rate per one. Uno, unit, means per one. So let's look at example number 5. If it costs $9.99 to download 10 songs, and you're asked for the unit rate, what it's asking you is how much does it cost for one song? So very simply, you would take $9.99 for 10, go ahead and divide that. And so the answer is 99 cents for one song. So the unit rate is 99 cents. Proportions are very often used when we're looking at scales and scale models. Okay? Write down this definition. A scale model is a representation of an item that's been reduced or increased in size proportionately. So in this picture, you see a model airplane. The scale is 5 centimeters on the model equals 2 meters on a real life plane. So every 5 centimeters on the model represents 2 meters on the real plane. So that's going to be the scale that we use. 5 centimeters is the model to 2 meters on the actual. Okay, so it says this. If the wingspan of the scale model is 28.5 centimeters, what is the actual wingspan? You'd write a proportion something like this. 5 centimeters is to 2 meters as 28.5 centimeters is to x. And of course, you're going to cross multiply, use cross products to solve. So let's do that. So we're going to multiply numerator with denominator, denominator with numerator, and write our equation. So this would be 5x is equal to, let's take 28.5 times 2, that's 57. In order to solve this equation, I need to divide both sides by 5. And so x would be 11.4 meters. Okay, I want you to do a couple of problems independently. For number 4 and number 11, you will simply determine whether each pair of ratios are equivalent. So your answer is going to be either yes or no. That's all I want from you, yes or no. You can either reduce both ratios to see if they're the same, or you can use cross products. It's up to you. Okay, and here you're going to work on 2, 9, 15, and 16. Solving and using a scale model on number 16. Okay, we will continue working tomorrow with ratios and proportions. Make sure you do these independent problems. Collect any questions that you might have. Write them down so that you don't forget them, please, so that we can discuss any of these in class tomorrow. All right, have a great night. God bless you. See you tomorrow.